These kids remind me of 21st century Anne Franks. They're hiding out from the savagery of war and getting almost no help from world powers. When a bomber appears overhead, they bolt into caves that are infested with cobras. What's the sound when a bomb is falling? What is the sound of an Antonov in the air? To document these crimes against humanity, I sneaked into Sudan's Nuba Mountains with a video journalist colleague, Adam Ellick. The only way in is to cross the border illegally through rebel lines. There are no taxis, no cell phones, and only rumors of roads. There's only one trace of modernity. On a daily basis, Sudan kills its own people here, targeting schools and hospitals and ordinary people who live in grass huts. It's the worst ethnic cleansing you've never heard of. It's been going on for 4 years. It's so outrageous and so overlooked that I've returned for the 4th time. I witnessed this in 2012. Suddenly, everyone scrambled for cover. I see the bomber up ahead, and everybody has taken cover in these caves. Sadly, little has changed. There's an Antonov somewhere in the sky over there, I think. These women are getting ready to run.
So I like a bomb hole that's a bit away from everything else.
My tour guide is Ryan Boyette, an American missionary who has lived here for 13 years and who is married to a Nuban. His organization employs courageous Nubans who document the conflict with video footage.
The war has been raging now for 4 years, but just this year we're counting more bombs than we've seen at the beginning of the war.
The mountains are in the southern part of Sudan, but controlled by tens of thousands of Nuban rebels. Sudan wants to depopulate the area and crush the popular rebellion. So Sudan keeps out food, medicine, and aid groups. The man driving this misery is Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. If that name sounds familiar, think Darfur. He's the only sitting president in the world indicted on charges of genocide, although he's avoided visiting countries that would hand him over to the International Criminal Court. President Bashir has decimated families across Nuba, especially along the front line. That's where we drove to meet Osman and Sadia, parents of 5 children. They had never turned a light switch or spoken on the phone. They encountered the modern world only in February, when a bomb sparked a fire inside the foxhole in which the kids huddled. One child immediately burned to death. The 4 other burned children were put into a vehicle, the first car ride of their lives. 4 hours later, they arrived at this hospital. And you're the only doctor stationed here for 500,000 people, is that right?
Yeah.
What a ratio.
Yeah.
American missionary surgeon Dr. Tom Katena tried to save their lives. But his hospital is off the grid and without running water. Sometimes there's only so much he can do. 3-year-old Ayat died a few days later. 10-year-old Hosanna became infected with tetanus. She died too. Shanta, their 8-year-old brother, Shanta, seemed to be recovering until maggots swarmed into his wounds.
Flies are trying to get a smell. So flies go underneath and lay their eggs. And you would sit there and try to imagine what is going through this kid's mind. Horrible. Absolutely horrible way to die.
Dr. Tom managed to save one of the 4 siblings. 5-year-old Abdullah is now back in the village and becomes so terrified at night that he sleeps among these rocks. Dr. Tom lives and sleeps at the hospital, earning just $350 a month. The last time he left the compound area, 2013.
He is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ can بقوي الناس ميتين زول أبرص بشفيو زول عميان دكتور توم ده زي ده نحن بنشوف النوبة كله بيشوفه زي ده.
What is John 3:30?
He greater than I, so he must increase, I must decrease. He being God, of course. And it's kind of a reminder to us that we have to humble ourselves.
It's good you have a reminder to humble yourself. 'Cause,
You come across pretty arrogant.
Yeah. Ma'am, Chicanisa?
On this Sunday, he's headed to church, but insists on a quick walk through the ward.
Here comes the head.
Within minutes, he delivers a baby.
Get your gloves on. Well,
He often has to stop to explain basic instructions to nurses. Many never finished 6th grade. With limited resources, Dr. Tom has learned to make something out of nothing.
We drill a hole through this bone here, through this tibia, and then run a weight off the end of it. That weight is just a bag filled with sand. When it fractures, the muscles retract and pull the bone back like this. So you pull here, you try to pull it so it lines up like this and allow that bone to heal. That's what they used in the Civil War when they had fractures.
Hours later, he's still at it. Mass will have to wait another day. Dr. Tom honed his toughness as an All-American at Brown University, but nothing quite prepared him for being bombed 11 times.
you're like, oh my God, it's going to drop soon, it's going to drop, and then drop, and then drop. And you start thinking all the people we've seen here that were hit with the Antonov. Then all of a sudden, boom, all the dust and debris just falls down. These kind of things tend to harden my resolve.
Last year, Dr. Tom reached a low point when his hospital overflowed with 1,400 measles cases.
Sick as dogs, every one of them, vomiting, diarrhea, fever.
Suddenly, one of Africa's largest measles outbreaks was in the hands of one man. Sudan is to blame for blocking vaccines, but the UN also bears responsibility for refusing to import enough vaccines through unofficial channels. As a result, only 5 to 10% of Nubian children are vaccinated. Come on, is UN protocol really more important than saving lives? Dr. Tom regrets not speaking out more forcefully.
This is my responsibility to make noise and speak out. You try, but maybe it's just not enough. Maybe I should have tried a lot harder.
You could have a nice family practice in Peoria.
Yeah.
You'd earn a lot more money.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be bombed.
Right. For me, it's a privilege to be in a position where you can offer your services to people. I don't see it as a hardship. I say, look, I've been given quite a bit in this life. Let me go and try to do something with it.
Too often the world has failed to prevent the killing of innocents on a massive scale, and we are haunted by the atrocities that we did not stop and the lives we did not save.
World leaders make lofty speeches denouncing genocide and mass atrocities. So here's a mass atrocity 4 years along, and our silence makes us complicit. We may not be able to stop this, but we must demand humanitarian access and publicly shame President Bashir in hopes of reducing killings like this. Last month, Hamida and her 2-year-old, Safarina, heard a bomber above their home. You ran with Safarina. You were holding Safarina. You went inside, and then the MiG drops the bombs. And then what happened? Shrapnel sliced through the child's skull. The slaughter is inescapable. At Safarina's funeral, a Sudanese drone hovers above. Even death offers no peace in the Nuba Mountains.